Hello, and welcome back to Quantum Break. I just ran away from a collapsing bridge. Successfully. Barely. But... Yay. Now Beth wants to talk. Let me look around a little bit, Beth, and we can talk.
Hatch. This is the guy that visited me in the cell.
Why didn't I see this before?
Sounds like Serene's onto him. According to Monarch Communications, Hatch sabotaged a Monarch lab.
He may be undermining Paul, but I get the impression he's not on our side.
Oh, yes, most definitely not. Martin Hatch, what we know. Facts gathered by Fiona Miller so far. Joined Monarch in 2001, became Serene's chief advisor around 2007. No records before 2001. Who is he? Where did he come from? Where is he going? Working against Monarch. Possible links to the following. A death of Dr. Kim. Alone with Dr. Kim at the time of death. Death occurred just as Kim, well, I mean, technically Kim's not dead. Just as Kim was on the verge of a solution to Serene's time sickness. University time machine sabotaged, unconfirmed. Miscalculations on purpose. Hatch seen in lab assistance in Sophia's kidnapping. Distracted Monarch while kidnapping occurred. Knew we were coming. Did not alert Serene. Destruction of Serene's remaining sickness treatments. Was present outside Dr. Kim's lab when the lab was destroyed. So this is all information they just got. Accused Sophia of being responsible for this. Helped Charlie Wincott escape. We know that for a fact. Currently helping Charlie reach Monarch Tower undetected. Disobeying direct orders from Paul. Well, of course he is. Paul Serene. Wants access to the CFR. Potentially desires to sabotage the lifeboat protocol. Sabotaging Serene. Motive? Secretly assuring Serene's downfall? What to take over Monarch? Why? Sabotaging Monarch's survival plan from within? No possible reason for this. Doesn't believe countermeasures could stop Fracture. Not a potential ally. Works for Monarch, therefore believes the end of time is inevitable and wants it to arrive. Somehow, I don't know why. Is he from the end of time? I don't know. Then why attempt to sabotage the lifeboat protocol? These are all very good. I can't get over there. All right. Oh, what's this? Best chart and plans is the plan to travel to 2010. Man, that's a long time ago. And steal the countermeasures. All right. Talk to me, lady.
Okay, what's up?
It's about the plan.
This plan?
If Amaral gets the machine working...
We go back to yesterday and undo all of this.
Listen. In the video Will left for me, he said the countermeasure was stolen from his workshop on July 4th, 2010. He also said I took it. Maybe I did, Jack. We have a time machine.
She's got a point.
You're saying we go to 2010. We steal it.
If Will was right,
We
that would
always
mean
did.
It wouldn't be a change. We take the countermeasure, bring it to the present, fix the fracture, save the world.
Okay. Explain to me why that's a better plan than just going back to yesterday and preventing all this from happening in the first place.
Because I'm afraid that based on what I know about time travel, we can't change anything. The past has already happened. We can't change it. But my way, we don't have to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my plan still feels simpler. Let's just get the machine working.
There's somebody's phone on the ground. You guys see that, right? There's just a random fucking phone on the ground. To be honest, it looks like a Windows phone. Huh.
Dr. Amaral seems convinced that Paul's been to the end of time. Do you think that's true?
Can't be. Otherwise, trying to prevent it would be pointless.
Not necessarily because...
Because it's already happened.
Yes, but if he hadn't gone there, we wouldn't want to go back to get the time machine. So then the time machine, or the countermeasure. So if we hadn't gone back to get the countermeasure wouldn't be missing now. Seems like we might be stuck in a loop.
Let's see how Dr. Amaral's doing with the time machine.
Yeah.
I don't think we can trust her.
I know we
Wish she
can't.
looked at the countermeasure like she's seen it before. She knows what it does.
Think Will told her about it?
Wouldn't be surprised.
No. Will was never the kind to open up.
It depends on the person.
I can relate.
That's less than
Hello,
myth radio.
Riverport. Well, it's been a rough night for us. The collision at the Port Donnelly Bridge that has claimed multiple
weird.
lives is still being investigated. At least a dozen people are confirmed dead, and investigators say they expect to find more bodies, some of which are predicted to be found in the cars at the bottom of the river. The
Jeez.
cause of the accident remains unclear. Adding to the confusion are conflicting reports from shipboard personnel and those on dry land. The captain of the cargo ship insists that the bridge was up and the route was clear. However, some people shoreside claim the cargo ship was approaching the bridge at high speed, despite the bridge having not yet been raised. Others express surprise at the ship's presence, claiming that they do not see its approach at all. The investigation is still ongoing. We'll keep you posted. Now, obviously, this disaster will affect us in more ways than one. With the Port Donnelly Bridge out of commission, heavy congestion is expected on the other routes across the river, and we now have reports coming in of multiple car crashes all over Riverport. So you will want to reserve enough time for your trip today if you're traveling by car. Stay safe out there. Hopefully we can all get back to normal soon.
Yeah, because technically it's Schrodinger's bridge. It was up and down. In the bubble, it was still down. According to outside, it was still up. Outside of the bubble, they were waiting it for it to
Will takes it to the next level.
lower
When we were
to
kids,
see to
the
stop.
only way that
Whatever.
Will could express
You know what I'm
something
trying to say.
important me was by informing my stuffed giraffe when I was in the room.
It's precious. And weird.
It was down on at whatever time the fracture happened, and inside the fracture, it was up. There's nothing else in here? So those are all in the pool. I want to double check. You'd think anything around here I would have already gotten. You know? Because I've been here before. Shall we? Alright,
Did
let's...
she find anything?
I'm not sure. I'll go check.
Actually, I'm not going to go check. How do you feel about that?
Jack, you've got to see this.
Well, what you got? I was actually coming over here to see specifically that.
Hey, shouldn't you be keeping an eye on Amaral?
Okay, but first, you need to check out the intel I uncovered.
She good at this.
All right. What is all this?
I
probably see
uploaded
how
all the
Dr.
files I
Amaral's
stole
doing.
on that USB stick from the Monarch security station. I also found a video of your brother. It's on that TV. You're gonna want to see it. Everything else I printed out and put on tables over there.
Okay.
What's on the computer?
Monarch files I uploaded, and I kept the juiciest stuff on screen for you.
Well, let me read over your shoulder then. From Paul to Sophie, my 5th entry. I recalled moving through a wheat field that once belonged to my grandparents. I pressed the wheat stalks to the side with my hand, softly sifting through them at first, but as I pressed forward, the stalks began to warp and curl around my arms, providing resistance to my every move. The entire field began to solidify into an unbreakable material with my body entangled in the mess. I desperately tried to pull myself free, but every movement led to a burning sensation. The world desaturated. Time stopped. I heard the unmistakable sound of my greatest fear approaching. Shifters. They emerged from all sides, surrounding me. I looked into the distance and saw a blurry figure approaching. He tried to yell, but the words wouldn't escape his throat, instead transforming into an endless shriek, pulsing through my ears. His every movement and sound transformed into an agonizing discomfort all throughout my body until it became completely unbearable. The pain trumped logic. I needed to make it stop. I needed to make it all stop. I grew violent, blindly lashing out at the figure tearing him apart. I needed to destroy the source of the motion and sound that caused me such discomfort. The pain stopped as I took the figure's life, and as he died, his identity became clear. It was me. I had become the very threat that I once feared, but I did not fear anymore. I felt something very clear, very pure. I turned around to discover Jack behind me. He didn't move, but I could somehow understand his intent. He welcomed me. Every misunderstanding, all the pain we had caused one another was forgotten. We were part of a higher consciousness. I heard a voice behind him, Dr. Kim. He joined us. He told me that time was once the fire in which we burned. He told me we would burn no more. That's scary sounding. To Peretta. I am attaching Paul Serene's most recent entry in his dream journal. I am growing increasingly concerned with the meaning behind these dreams, but I need a second opinion. I can treat Paul's sickness, relay as far as I can determine the Chrono Syndrome is more a metaphysical condition than an actual medical issue, but I'm a physicist. I'm very much out of my depth with all this. This exercise was meant to help alleviate stress, to ease Paul's symptoms, but so far it has resulted in the opposite. Time is of the essence. His condition is getting worse by the day. Dr. Sophie. Yeah, about that. I literally just read that. I was trying to talk to her. No, I'm trying to talk to her! There we go.
Is the city still hunting for me?
In full force.
Yay!
There's an entire webpage dedicated to potential Jackjoy sightings. So I've been filling it in with false leads for fun.
Nice.
Do you want to pitch in?
Post that I was spotted in the back of a catering van somewhere.
You can do better than that. But okay, I'll let them know.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Catering, man. That sounds good right about now. Hey, bro.
Okay. The date is... It's February 28th,
Jesus, Will.
1999. William Joyce.
1899.
After months
First experiment.
arduous work, my machine is finally ready for human testing. Ready is defined by me, since ready is obviously a relative term when you're dealing with the deformation of the chronon field and recreating
I get you.
black hole's mass density by tangent. Okay, in short summary, I built a time machine, and it works. I'm gonna prove it, or die. Okay, just need to make some final preparations. When I
What
enter
the
the machine,
fuck?
I will travel clockwise around the corridor. Okay. Core is active. Chronon levels are stable. I'll travel clockwise around the corridor, exiting back into the same location in the near future. Oh. This clock is set to my watch. Now, when I exit the machine, there should be a significant difference in time between my watch and the clock in this room. Corridor is locked in place. Okay, setting the date to 5 minutes to the future for the first test. Now, admittedly, traveling to the past would be much more impressive, but I can travel backwards in time only as far as the first activation of the machine's core, which is, well, now. Okay.
So technically, we could go back to 1999, but that's as far as we could go.
Stable. What I'm about to do is gonna change the very fabric of it. I don't remember.
The fuck? Okay.
This is Serene's original manifesto for Monarch.
They had us practically memorize this.
Hundreds of employees. They actually believe all this bullshit?
More than you can imagine.
Well, I mean, he had proof. You can go back and forth in time to get predictions, as it were. So yeah, building an empire, preparing for the future, and the Lifeboat Protocol. So yeah, since 1999, as far back as they can go in time, they've been preparing for this. They've got a bit of a lead on us. Okay. This is only for approved employees. I have seen the path ahead, and I know it will be hard. I have founded Monarch Solutions to bring together those who will walk in it with me. The elite few whose skill, dedication, and passion will live on when everything else ends. To that end, 1. We will work under my guiding vision of the future, my knowledge of what is coming. We accept that we cannot change our fate, nor can we avoid it. It is a harsh truth, but it is the truth. We will accept it and its full implications, but we will not deviate from our course, nor give in to despair, nor give up the fight. Those of us who share in this knowledge, who learn the triumphs and tragedies of the days and years to come, will look past them and find them to turn them to our advantage. The gray, uncertain areas beyond what is known will be where we build our empire. We will build it on the hope that we can persevere, that the end isn't our end, that we can still succeed. 2. We will expand Monarch's influence and power in all possible spheres: financial, political, cultural, medical, technological, military, to the best of our ability. This is a goal unto itself. We will need to be in a position of exceptional resources and ability to act when the time comes. We will build. We will seek such success and profit, not for the sake of wealth and fame, but for the sake of preparedness. 3. We will develop science and technology to counter a very specific set of circumstances. This will require extensive research and experimentation, as well as a tremendous financial cost. We will not be daunted by these challenges. We will complete our work. 4. We will not compromise. We recognize that sacrifice is required, and we are willing to pay the cost to meet our goals. There is no alternative to this. Doubt, qualms, and sentiment are luxuries we cannot afford. Whatever we have to do is a lesser evil than the extinction of the entire human race, and to pretend otherwise is weakness. Nothing in the history of our planet has been as important as this. Nothing we have accomplished as a species matters if we fail in our mission. 5. We will not fail. There will be many challenges in the years ahead. I know what's coming. It cannot be averted. There's no escaping it, but we can survive it, and we can overcome it, and we will. I am dedicating myself, this company, and every shred of willpower at my disposal to that mission. I expect the same for those who join me on it. Paul Serene. Sounds more like a cult than anything. The thing is, though, if he went to the end of time and everything was frozen, how do we know it's the end of time? If it was frozen in that time, which technically that frozen piece of time will last for eternity, if it's started back up, literally it could be a millisecond in time to everybody else outside of it. Just like what's happening right now. If you're inside one of the stop pieces of time, that will go on forever. But on the outside, it either hasn't happened or it's about to end. Does that make sense? Does that make any sense at all? I don't know if that makes any sense. It's just that if you arrive in that frozen piece of time, it will always be frozen. Unless you're able to move beyond it. Which maybe you aren't. If you can only move backwards so far in time, maybe you can only move forwards so far in time. Maybe there is a reason why it stopped. Maybe the destruction of the CFR. I don't know.
The lifeboat.
Yeah. Well, according to Monarch Communications, Paul Serene just activated that thing.
Far sooner than they were supposed to.
Yeah, they may not be
What does
ready
that
for
mean?
it.
Means we have less time than I hoped.
Jesus fucking Christ, this is another long one. On the unique nature of the lifeboat. While the lifeboat protocol is fairly straightforward on the surface, it's important that the people involved with the project understand how it radically differs from other survival scenarios against so-called apocalyptic threats. Stutterproofing. A traditional bunker built to protect the occupants from an environmental hazard, e.g. a chemical attack or nuclear fallout, is typically sealed airtight, and the occupants have their own electricity, air supplies, provisions, etc. The bunker's interior is isolated from the outside environment, but the lifeboat's design is different. It's not actually sealed, because it doesn't have to be. It does have strong walls and protected access points, but the outside environment is not the problem. It's the lack of Mayor Joyce field that enables time to exist that makes the outside hazardous. From a technological standpoint, these differences make the lifeboat's operating principles quite different, particularly with regards to maintenance. Compared to, say, the failure of the life support system in a hermetically sealed survival space, such as a bunker, the failure of the lifeboat's stutterproofing system has far more immediate and grave effects. A traditional life support system can be repaired. For instance, a failure in the CO2 scrubbers would pose a significant threat, but with replacement parts and tools, properly trained occupants can easily repair the system before they would feel any ill effects. In fact, almost any mechanical failure short of a full-scale environmental breach can be fixed as long as suitable repair materials and trained personnel are at hand. But, by its very nature, the stutterproofing is different. If it fails, everybody within its area of effect is immediately affected by the zero state and becomes frozen. In a permanent zero state scenario, that means they would have no opportunity to ever effect repairs. There's literally no time to react. The only exception would be personnel wearing an activated chronon harness, such as the striker suit. But given that repairing the stutterproofing system is highly technical, complicated processes required an exponential proficiency in the operation and engineering of the chronon technology, this would be a scenario with a low probability of success. It is therefore of utmost importance that the lifeboat stutterproofing operates reliably and without faults, with multiple fail-safe systems, because if it ever fails, it's unlikely that it can be repaired or restarted. Accordingly, once the lifeboat protocol has been activated, there's no real way to deactivate it other than removing the chronon field regulator. This would be highly inadvisable, as doing so could not only disrupt the stutterproofing, but more importantly, without the CFR, the lifeboat's rate of chronon particle consumption is increased by a vast margin, effectively reducing its potential operating time to a fraction of what it is intended. Unique advantages and risks. However, it is worth pointing out that even though the lifeboat operation has unique hazards, there are also unique advantages. One such advantage is provisions. A traditional survival scenario in a bunker typically involves a poor quality of meals due to obvious resourcing problems. Anything that spoils easily is out of the question. In a zero-state scenario, however, spoilage becomes a non-issue. Anything stored outside the stutterproof area remains in perfect condition. This advantage doesn't only apply to consumables. Constables? Okay. But also makes the storage of medical, volatile chemicals, and other similar articles far less of a problem than it otherwise would be. In fact, given the fact that the city of Riverport is vast compared to the relatively small number of people residing in the lifeboat, in theory, Monarch operatives could venture outside the lifeboat in chronon harnesses and actually enjoy freshly cooked meals simply by entering a restaurant and finding the ready-made dishes that have been prepared. Remove them from the zero state to a stutterproof area and enjoy them as hot and delicious as if they had been just prepared, which, in fact, they of course would be. To be clear, this is not a recommended activity, as it would be foolish waste of resources to go after individual meals like that. The above scenario is mentioned here merely as to illustrate the point. Even though the lifeboat has been designed to operate for decades of subjective time, it doesn't actually need provisions for that long. If the lifeboat's own reserves start to run low, a well-planned supply run into the city could easily result in a great deal of perfectly preserved supplies. Another advantage is that while the situation outside the lifeboat would be dire, people frozen in the zero state would not actually be dead. If a solution is found to the end of time scenario, everyone would resume their everyday lives, most likely with no awareness of time ever having stopped. However, it's hard to know what the exact psychological impact of knowledge of the lifeboat personnel would be. There's a real concern that the pressure of knowing that they have sole responsibility for the survival of the human race and that there are billions of people outside of the walls of the lifeboat, helpless and unaware, frozen eternally in the last moment, may prove to be a crushing for some. On the other hand, knowing that their loved ones are actually not dead and may be saved and are not in any distress or indeed even aware of the situation may prove to be a powerful motivating factor that helps us eventually resolve the situation. Of course, the solution to the problem of a permanent zero state is not currently within our reach, and we expect that finding one will take subjective decades if it is indeed possible. We can but try. It is worth noting that since the people outside lifeboat are indeed not dead, merely stopped, it should be possible for a team of personnel wearing chrono harnesses to exit the lifeboat, retrieve a person, and bring them into the lifeboat. However, I advise against adopting this practice for the occupants. That should forever remain a theoretical scenario. Any situation in which someone is brought in from the outside would cause undue stress on the occupants, who would at that point have to become acutely aware that their loved ones could be brought in. But since the lifeboat has limited space, this could never be allowed. That kind of psychological pressure would likely lead to the friction and questions of favoritism and ultimately increase the risk of the mission failure. God, these are long. Please don't be so long.
Anybody here we can trust?
Probably not.
Fiona. She's my only remaining contact on the inside.
What about this Burke guy?
Burke.
He was under arrest in the same transport as me.
Jury's still out on Burke.
All unknowns. Oh dear God, come on. Don't info dump like this. Controlling the Riverport situation from Clarence Ogawa, field teams. I know the situation is fluid and things are progressing fast, but I want to reiterate our strategy for maintaining control over the city of Riverport. As you all know, we can't actually directly control the city. We don't have the manpower, and we don't have the actual authority. It's therefore vital that we maintain a good relationship with the media and the local authorities, and have them do much of the heavy lifting for us. Ideally, everything we do should be either undertaken by the authorities under our discreet direction, or, in cases where we take action ourselves, backed by the powers that be, creating the illusion that Monarch Solutions is working in cooperation with legal authorities. Make no mistake, although we've been successful thus far, the situation is not stable, and it can change quickly. If key parties in the city lose confidence in us and our ability to handle the crisis, our control will erode very quickly. Therefore, we must nurture this relationship even as we conduct our own operations, some of which involve considerable troop mobilization and combat actions. This is a constant balancing act, and while I'm confident we can pull it off, there's no room for error. We cannot afford to grow complacent and sloppy. Fortunately, we are well prepared for that contingency. Long before we reached this point, we established a good rapport with the mayor, Riverport PD, and other major authorities within Riverport, as well as most of the important media outlets. Our strategy is twofold. 1. Maintain control. It's imperative that we ensure the city's various power structures remain under our control. This means maintaining a close relationship with numerous individuals and organizations, as well as manipulating the information at their disposal. While Charlie Wincock is unfortunately no longer working on this project due to unforeseen circumstances, he has set up powerful tools and procedures for scrubbing the internet and identifying and locating problematic situations and individuals. We are stationing people in key locations and maintaining control over, often under the guise of advisors and consultants to people in power. They are ready to step in as required. Anyone working in these roles needs to be proactive and project a constant aura of helpful authority and dependability. Diplomacy is the order of the day, people. That's vital for maintaining certain fictions, such as Jack Joyce's culpability in the events at the university, etc. 2. Minimize conflict. That is to say, make sure that individuals, whether they're politicians, city officials, police officers, reporters, ordinary citizens, etc., suffer a minimal impact from our activities. If we have to use force, the situation needs to take place out of sight and remain entirely contained. Whether containment means misdirection, coercion, intimidation, bribery, or some other means depends on the circumstances. But it's vital that nobody is left in the position to complain. To be explicitly clear, this doesn't mean we can eliminate witnesses and cover it up. When people don't come home, others start to ask questions. So that has to be a last resort. I expect all supervisors to monitor their teams closely to ensure things stay on an even keel. I know most of our operatives won't be trained in this soft touch, and I'll be blunt, the last thing we need is somebody thinking this is Afghanistan and smacking a civilian around. We're one YouTube video away from the whole thing blowing up in our faces, so we have to maintain our operational profile throughout. For all of these activities, we have a considerable budget. Monarch Solutions is very well off. We've been building resources for a long time, and this is considered a priority. So we can buy a lot of silence and cooperation from authorities and citizens alike. But that only works as long as as those things are for sale, and the moment we're seen as a threat, that opportunity will disappear. If you see a problem, be proactive and call it in. Don't let anything run out of control or think it'll work itself out. We have to be sure. The situation can unravel faster than we think, and we have to coordinate our activities properly. Any questions or concerns, please contact me sooner rather than later. Why aren't we making YouTube videos to, where she can be on YouTube and say, hey, nothing I said happened. I guess that hasn't dawned on us yet. We're kind of short on time anyway, so maybe it's not an important use of our resources, which we have very limited of. But anyways, hopefully you enjoyed my nonsense. If you did, a like, comment, subscribing, and hitting that bell icon would be greatly appreciated. And this has been Boylag, signing off.